Greetings, time for a Simmers morning skate. Rob Simpson for SeattleHockeyInsider.com, and it is my pleasure to welcome aboard the voice of television and radio for the Edmonton Oilers, Mr. Jack Michaels, ladies and gentlemen. Jackie, baby.
Rob, great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, and I'm going to start the clock because we've got 6 minutes. It's 6 minutes with Jackie, baby. First of all, for the Seattle Kraken fans, tell the folks what they're getting in Kailer Yamamoto.
Well, I can't. And that's the rub, right? I mean, for the Kraken, we don't know how he's going to fit into their lineup. We don't know really what kind of player he is long term. In the short term, you're going to get a guy that does turn pucks over as a defensive forward. In other words, he's a little, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but he's got that Datsuk ability to get inside and quickly transition from defense to offense. He creates turnovers in the offensive zone. He's a relentless forechecker, and because of his stature, he actually uses it at a strength to kind of get basically inside the guy and often relieve him of the puck. The problem for Kailer Yamamoto is his scoring and especially his finishes has been inconsistent. He went on an absolute tear on a line with Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins a couple of years ago, and that really thrust the Oilers, from a playoff also ran into an annual contender, but he really hasn't discovered the scoring touch since. He had a 20-goal season. He's had, two quiet, playoff campaigns. He's a guy that, I think, for lack of a better word, perhaps a fresh start will be in order, but it's whether or not he can find the right chemistry with the players he's going to be integrated in. And what's curious about this, Rob, and this, is Seattle has had very little turnover up front. Yep. So they've got guys used to playing with one another, and Yamamoto's going to have to carve out a spot for himself in the top nine. This is not a fourth line player. He's not going to fit in that role. You've got to find a way to utilize him and maybe get his scoring breaking out on a consistent basis. Because if you can do that, he fits perfectly within Seattle's current structure of a bunch of guys who aren't going to score 30, but they're going to score between 15 and 25. That's the strength of Seattle balance. How Yamamoto complements that remains to be seen.
All right. Right now, he's kind of floating around fourth line right now. With who knows who they're going to. Let's just put it this way: training camp's going to be interesting for the former Spokane Chief and former Edmonton Oiler.
Well, Seattle's different in the sense that, as you know, they play their fourth line. I mean, Jared McCann played third line minutes and led the team in scoring last year. I mean, they are a little different, and this is where Yamamoto might be a good fit in the sense that they don't. Every coach, of course, will tell you, we don't see it as a fourth line. Seattle, Dave Axtell legitimately does have 12 guys that he plays roughly the same.
Yeah, it's all about depth and balance. And by the way, Becky, baby, you just burned 3 minutes on Kailer Yamamoto. All right, so last year, 7-2 with 2 power play goals, the victory on December 30th for Edmonton, okay? Then turn around less than a week later, and the Kraken start their NHL and NBA record 7-for-7 road trip, which includes a beginning at a 5-2 victory at Edmonton. Then they lose 5-2 and they lose 6-4 to the Oilers. So they pretty much got beat up, high scores by the Edmonton Oilers. It's not a great matchup for Seattle, or at least it doesn't seem to be.
No, and it wasn't really close last year. Exactly right. Even the 6-4, Edmonton was always able to get to Seattle early. Whether it was Grubauer or Jones. And again, I don't see this changing much because, again, neither Seattle nor Edmonton has had a great deal of turnover. And Seattle, Philip Grubauer, they're casting their lot with him for better or for worse. And he's got to come up with saves because if he doesn't, Edmonton is going to bury Seattle early again. And it's not necessarily just the power play. I mean, the Oilers jumped all over the Kraken early in games last year. It was a tough matchup. Seattle, quite frankly, was not as competitive with Edmonton as they were the other teams in the Pacific. But I'll say this, Edmonton caught fire in the second half of the year, and they blistered through the entire division, not just Seattle. I mean, they finished the year on a 14-0-1 run overall. Most of that inside the division. They finished the year 14-0-1 in their last 15 against the Pacific. So it wasn't just Seattle. The reason Edmonton has put up the points it's had with 2 consecutive 100-point campaigns is because they've had the best record inside the division for 2 years running.
You got a minute left, Jackie baby. A minute left, Jackie baby. I talked to Kenny Holland, your general manager, last March, told him I was making the Oilers the Stanley Cup favorite and that they'd win it. You know, of course, in classic Kenny Holland style.
He's going to downplay it.
He said, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
That's all he said. This year's different. They didn't win it. Vegas did. Can they get over the Vegas hump? Do we make Edmonton the favorite in the division because of a Stanley Cup hangover or for any other reason, maybe Connor Brown? And you got a minute.
I think Vegas, Rob, captured a moment in time. I don't necessarily see Vegas in the same vein as Colorado the year prior, where it looked like, and we didn't know what Gabe Landeskog would be, it looked like the Avalanche might be entering into a relatively large window because their core was young. Vegas, not the case. I mean, they've got a veteran core. Edmonton and Vegas tied 2 games apiece. Game 5, Edmonton up late second period. 48 hours later, the Oilers were eliminated, and Vegas never threatened again in their 2 subsequent series. Their biggest challenge was Edmonton. I don't think it's a Vegas hurdle. It just comes down to whether or not Edmonton, given that opportunity again, a chance to put away its last real obstacle toward a Stanley Cup. They stubbed their toe in Game 5 in Vegas and didn't win it, lost the series the next game. Ultimately, you're going to have to come through in a big game, and it starts in net for the Edmonton Oilers. Stuart Skinner did not have his best postseason. Remains to be seen whether that was a learning experience that he can build on, and then also whether or not Jack Campbell can sort out what plagued him in the first half of last year, because he finished the second half very strong and was good in relief in the postseason.
All comes down to net minding, Jackie baby. Always comes down to goaltending. And
we're not reinventing the wheel here. Those 6 minutes, same question. Goaltending.
And your D is still a little
for Seattle too, though. Seattle's got the same problem. They don't have the goaltending, or at least going into the season, major question with Grubauer. And again, defense. You know,
They were very healthy unbelievably healthy last year, which really
yes.
You got
and they lost Christian Soucy and bring in Brian Dumoulin. Seattle stood pat. Rob, you and I have been around this league a long time. Standing pat does not typically bode well the next season.
Right. Well, there's some minor tweaks, but anyway, you'd look really good in a diamond ring. So let's see if you can get over the hump. and maybe Seattle could shock some people. Your 6 minutes went 7.5, but that's okay because I knew it would. So. Nicely done, Jackie baby. Shoot, I forgot to look up what am I talking about? Oh no, it's not the first game. That's Vegas. Last year it was a little late, Oilers and Seattle Kraken matchups. I can't remember off the top of my head.
They're coming in November. Don't worry, I'll help you out.
Thank you very much.
This is the abridged version of Jack. I'm trying to give it to you, and now you're getting all spaced out about the schedule.
I know. I got to get out of here. All right, thanks, Jackie baby. We'll see you at the rink. Jack Michaels, TV radio voice, the Edmonton Oilers. This is Simmer's Morning Skate for SeattleHockeyInsider.com.